third and fourth.
You've taken 1 minute off of public affairs.
I'll make up for it by not commenting.
Promises.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting, and can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Shriver?
Here.
Placido?
Here.
Bowman?
Here.
Spiegelman?
Here.
Kalinowski?
Here.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2016 Public Safety Committee meeting, and I so move.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any corrections or additions from anyone? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. And now I would like to call on Chief Kelly for our Police Department report this evening.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we have several things to report to you tonight. You'll recall at last month's meeting, the committee had asked for us to give an ongoing update regarding information regarding the administration of naloxone in the township. So we have two chiefs here with us tonight to do the information for you. First, I'd like to call on the Police Department Deputy Chief John Livingood. Will give you the update on the information on March of this year from the Police Department.
Good evening, Commissioners. During the month of March, we only administered twice Narcan. Actually, in the one instance, they were prepared to deliver it. The patient came to at the last minute, and so it was not actually administered. So it really comes down to one administration. Both of the cases, the patients were transported to AMH, and they were treated by the second alarmers. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Any questions from anyone?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And we also have the chief from our second alarmers here who will tell you about the great work that they've done both in last month and since the beginning of the year.
Good evening, Commissioners. So when we run our numbers, we have to kind of pull up by the number of times we gave Narcan. Doesn't always mean that it was a clear heroin or opiate overdose. So obviously we've given a little bit more frequently to the police department. In March, we gave Narcan 8 times to separate patients. And then we went back, just because you'd asked for it year to date, we've given it 12 times now. So again, now in the instances where the police have gotten there ahead of us and given it, we might not give it to that patient, so there might be a little bit of overlap. But that's our rate of administration, and we'll continue to track that for you. And likewise, if there's any questions you have, I'd be happy to try and field them.
Commissioner Klein.
I think I asked this last time. Do you have is there any way, or have you been recording if there's anybody getting, like, have they been repeat customers, in a sense, for Narcan?
I believe that looking at it, we had 1 or 2 in our last years. We haven't done that year to date, so at the end of every year, we go back through and we run the total for the year. But it's really hard because when we look at it and spitting out data, it's generally, age and information. So there probably are, but it's not something that we track on a regular basis.
Is there any way to track that easier, or is it too much of an
I can
issue?
talk to our data people. I don't really know, because it's not something that, in the medical record, every time we encounter the patient, we treat them, we provide the proper care that's required at that particular instance. So it is hard to tell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I also want to point out that while we reported them separately, all of this was done thanks to the cooperation and involvement by our second alarmers. As you know, they were the ones that trained us and got us prepared and got us up and running, including even got us the actual naloxone supply prior to almost anybody else in the county, any of the other police departments doing it. And so while we talk about them separately, it's all a complete cooperative effort with second alarmers, and they do a great job. You know that. But I just wanted to make sure that we made it clear that while we're doing that and making those administrations, sometimes when the police are there before second alarmers arrive, it's all due to their cooperation and their work and their assistance that we're able to do that. So it's just important to make sure you know that. Moving on to the next area, we know that the board hates it when we want to do changes to the budget, but I have our emergency management administrator here, Tom McEnany, who's going to advise you about something that will be have an impact on our budget. Tom?
Thanks, Chief.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. As Chief Kelly said, there is something that we wanted to discuss regarding it'll impact the budget. Now you can all breathe a little easier. It's for the good, though. If we all recall, the snowstorm of January 22nd and 23rd was kind of a historic snowstorm for our area. More than 30 inches fell on actually the entire East Coast, but southeast Pennsylvania in particular. That storm occurred over the course of a weekend, so all of the cleanup occurred pretty much all on overtime, a lot of equipment costs. On March 23rd, the President signed a disaster declaration for southeastern Pennsylvania so that we are now eligible to apply for aid, federal disaster aid. During that storm, our township spent approximately $268,000 in labor, materials, and equipment. And under the disaster declaration, we'll be able to recover at a minimum of 75% of the eligible costs. That equates to a ballpark figure around $200,000. It'll be a slow process. The initial process just started. We just got the notification for the initial meeting, which is a week from Monday. If Hurricane Sandy is any indication, it'll take anywhere from 18 months to 2 years to recover the funds. And it'll be a team effort. The good news is this isn't the first rodeo for any of us, even for myself as the newest member of the emergency management team. I've already been through it with Hurricane Sandy with the township, but our police, public works, parks, everybody has already, we already have our documentation, all our backup documentation. Eileen Marks in Ed Mikelow's office walked into my office the other day with a stack of paperwork. So on our initial meeting, we're ready to go already. We're way ahead of the game. This will be my first time taking the whole process through kind of on my own. I'm one of the deputy emergency management coordinators. As you all know, our emergency management coordinator is Chief Kelly. Deputy Chief Livingood is one of our deputy coordinators. Lieutenant McNamara just retired, was one of them. And then it's Ken Clark, myself, and Sergeant Scott. So it'll be a new process for Sergeant Scott and I to kind of move forward and learn from this, learn from everybody that's done it before. But it's kind of exciting news for me because I'm always the gloom and doom guy. I'm sure you all cringe when you get my emails. So the fact that I get to give good news, Chief Kelly wanted to give me a chance to come out tonight and give some good news. So I appreciate it.
Thank you for the good news.
If there's any questions.
Welcome back anytime.
Commissioner Spiegelman.
I figured you'd feel that way, Commissioner, so that's good. Tom was in the process of doing the training for our Citizen Police Academy and came over, specialized him to come over to deliver that good news to you, answer any questions, and if we have nothing else for him, I'll excuse
I think
him.
we have some questions,
Head back
Chief.
over.
Chief, I just had one quick question for Tom. Sure. Tom, first of all, very welcome good news. A lot better than the end of the world snowstorm messages that you sent out.
There is supposed to be snow on Saturday.
You know what? No, we're not. Nobody wants to hear that. I know in the past, when Sandy and during the ice storm, you had asked us to reach out to our residents to report any their own personal major property losses, disaster losses. Is there anything that you need us to get out to residents with regard to this claim?
No, for this one, it's strictly municipal costs involved with the actual snow removal, and actually, it's confined to the 48 hours of the highest of our expenditures, so they really narrow it down to that. The good part of it is, in reviewing our records, every bit of our costs came during a 48-hour period. So there aren't going to be very many costs that won't be captured within that 48-hour period. Now, that said, FEMA is very good at trying to nitpick everything, but I'm based on Sandy, I'm pretty confident we're going to receive a significant amount of money from the federal government.
Great. Thank you for your work on that. I guess my broken shovel, not going to get a new shovel, a FEMA shovel.
If we get the $200,000, I'll buy
I
one
need
for
the
you.
FEMA shovel. Thank you.
Commissioner Klein.
So you said it was $268,000 in overtime and what other expenses?
That's equipment, Material rock salt was a big cost, and then the actual labor cost.
So how will that be funded between now and the time that you get any money back from FEMA?
As far as if we hadn't, that's already money that we've spent out of pocket.
No, I know that, but at some point, I guess it's going to affect the end of year, towards the end of the year budget.
I would have to
Because
consult.
it was early in the fiscal year, so you're not feeling it now, but at some point, it's going to catch up with whomever's budget. I mean, I know it's Public Works, it's the Police Department, whomever, so it's going to catch up. I guess the question is, we're going to have to fund that at some point. Will it be funded out of fund balance and then replenish back after we get FEMA money, or?
Yeah, we could. We did allocate additional funding for snow removal this year after last season, so we're not sure at this point. It really depends on what kind of December we have, on the impact on the budget. But with this revenue coming back, we're starting to be in a good position to approve an expenditure over the budget amount, knowing it's being offset on the revenue side.
I mean, I don't want to catch, you get down to November and realize at some point you're going to have to figure out how to budget that, how to fund that portion until we actually get money back from FEMA.
Should we need to make a change, we will come back to the board in December or possibly January, depending when the snow actually hits.
Okay. And Tom, it's not your emails that are a problem, it's the commentary that Larry adds to when he sends out your emails that are
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Commissioners, I'm sure you noticed that Tom just had to sneak in that thing about the snowstorm that's coming. He just can't help himself. It's part of his nature, part of his job. Thanks, Tom. We appreciate
other
you being
questions?
here to take care of that. Very good. Commissioners, one of the things that's a primary topic, of course, of public safety is traffic safety, and our traffic safety manager has some update on a couple of new things with traffic safety. So let me turn over to Officer Alfred.
Evening, Commissioners. I put in front of you a new yard sign that we're going to use for our next blitz. I will tell you that the slogan was proffered by Officer Gillespie, who has a way with coming up with sayings. So I'll give that credit to him. But we partnered with CAPT, and I'll let Commissioner Kalinowski speak more to that in getting these signs out to residents coming up for our next blitz. The second thing we came up with, in that our signs are pretty old. We've used the same design for the past probably 10 years, and we wanted to do something a little new. So this week we put out a letter to the school district and spoke with them, and what we're looking at doing, if they agree to it, is to run a contest between the elementary schools on coming up with a design for a yard sign, at which point we would pick a winner, and then that sign would be a new yard sign that we will use out in the community, and we'll pass those out. So we're looking at having that contest, if the school district's agreeable to it, hopefully in May, so that we can pick a winner by June and award the student that has the winning design at their school assembly before the end of the year. And then, again, we hope to get that sign made up, and we'll start passing those out in August for our September blitz. So that's the two things we've come up with to kind of get the blitz off and rolling and get something new out there. And I guess I'll defer now to Commissioner Kalinowski in reference to the sign.
Okay, thank you. We ordered these signs. We came up with, through Roger Gillespie, which is, he has a way with words and a wit to his personality, which is really good. So we decided, we also want to get our name CAP out there. We want people to know how much we really do and how much we really support the community. So through the 24-hour relay, the money that we raised through there. So this is what we decided, somewhere we would spend some of our money and give back to the community, and we'd be out there. So I know I'm always telling you how we're running the relay, so I did put in everybody's packet up here a donate for pizza. So if anybody's interested in helping out, that's one way to help out with the relay and help out paying these signs. Sponsors. So that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could add, the CAPT, or Citizens and Police Together, does these fundraisers, and those fundraisers are then used to defray the costs of different projects, usually youth-related projects or public safety-related projects in the township. And by doing that, allows us to do certain programs otherwise we wouldn't be able to do, and also saves the township and the taxpayers' money, that if they were to fund it, obviously that there would be some costs involved with it. And so that's the double benefit of the program, the volunteers that are involved with the citizens and police together, and the work that they do for us. Just last couple of things, just to make you aware, it's a very busy time of year, and we have a number of issues coming up, so just wanted to briefly let you know about them. On Friday, April 22nd, is the Pal Comedy Night at the Keswick Theater, and the information about that is out on the windowsill on your way out, and we certainly hope that you'll come and join us. I promise it'll be fun and funny, certainly a lot funnier than Tom McEnany's reports are to us usually, so you're going to enjoy that almost as much as the one he had here for us tonight. Also, on April 26th at 6 p.m., the County Victim Services Center is going to be coming to Abington Township and doing their annual homicide vigil. They do it around the county at a different location each year, and this year they've chosen to come to Abington Township, and so it'll be out in front of the Police and Fire Memorial here at the Township Building on the 26th at 6 p.m., and they do the homicide vigil honoring victims and police officers who have lost their lives due to violent crimes, and so that'll be going on there. The very next night, the 27th, is the Citizen Police Academy graduation, and if any of you would like to show up and show your support for those who went through that, you're welcome to do that. We'd love to have you there. That'll be at starting at 7 o'clock, and that'll be at the Police and Fire Public Safety Training Center. And finally, on Monday, May 2nd, is the DARE graduation, which I know many of you have attended before. If any of the new commissioners, if you haven't attended that, you should really try to see if you can make that. It'll be at the junior high, and it's quite an event, seeing kids dragging their parents into the DARE graduation and watching kids being all psyched up about the DARE program, their DARE officers, and it's kind of a neat thing to see. So wanted to invite you to that. And
What time is that one, Chief?
Pardon me?
What time is the DARE graduation?
That's at 7 p.m. And Madam Chair, that's what we have for the Police Department report tonight.
Thank you very much. I know we also have from Second Alarmers, Rich Garrett. Rich, did you want to talk a little bit about the substation or answer any questions? Is that for you or Ken? I'm not really sure.
I'll start with Ken Davidson, Assistant Chief
Okay.
of Second Alarmers, if anybody has any questions on our facility at the DHO Firehouse.
Thank you, Commissioner. So everything right now is kind of in a preliminary state, but we wanted to make you aware. We've had the privilege of locating an ambulance at Edgehill Fire Company since 2007. And at the time we moved in there, it was a temporary arrangement, and I've kind of likened it to the child moving home from college while looking for someplace else to live, and we got comfortable, and we're still there 9 years later. One of the things that we've been trying to focus on over the past couple of years is improving service to that area, and as most of you know, the truck that's there is a 12-hour crew during the day. Unfortunately, the call volume in that area at night doesn't support having its own crew there. We were also asked to look at some of our neighboring area in Upper Dublin Township on the border area there, and we've kind of done a study and looked at our response times, and we think that if we can put the truck there 24 hours a day, we'd be able to improve response times to both communities in the evening hours. In order to do that, we are looking at moving the truck about 1.5 miles down the road and just over the line into Upper Dublin Township to the area of like Twining and Limekiln. So everything is very preliminary. We're working with Upper Dublin and the coverage area that's there. We're working with a property there, and we went to the fire company and let them know several months ago because, again, we value our relationship and we wanted to give them as much notice as possible that we've had a good 9-year run there, but it looks like we might be moving that truck in the near future to get it to an area where we'd be able to realign some coverage area and pick up the call volume needed to get to the number to make that truck 24/7. So although we're going to be moving across the line into the neighboring township, it's our feeling that this will help us improve service to the residents, especially of the Ardsley, Glenside community that we serve, by having that truck there at night. If there's any specific questions, I'm happy to take them, and as we get further along the process, we'll certainly keep you apprised of what's going on. At this point, I don't think anything's going to happen this month or next month. We'd probably be looking at towards the end of June that we would make that relocation of the truck.
Thank you. Any questions? Any?
Yes, I have one.
Commissioner Kolowski?
How many second alarmist services are there in Abington?
Well, so Second Alarmist has 5 stations total in the area. 3 of them really primarily serve here. So our Willow Grove station technically sits in Upper Moreland, but that covers really from Susquehanna and north primarily. There's a station in Elkins Park, which is across the street from McKinley Fire Company. And then the third truck is one that was previously, many years ago, stationed at Weldon Fire Company, and then in 2007 was moved over to Edge Hill Fire Company. In 2007, actually, that truck was slated to move over a little bit further, really into that Upper Dublin area, but we were having a hard time locating a place, and Edge Hill kind of opened their doors to us and said, why don't you come in here until we get that figured out. So the one station that is permanently in Abington Township is the Elkins Park station. Abington Township and north of Susquehanna is served by Willow Grove, and then during the day the Edge Hill station covers the Ardsley, North Hills area. Our hope is that by making this move, that'll be a 24-hour location.
Okay. How many 24-hour locations are there out of those 5, or you would be
The other 4 are 24. So that location is the only
So you were
location
the only
that has
ones.
not been 24/7.
No. Okay. Okay. Well then, it's an asset.
So
Appreciate it.
Ken, does
Any
that
other
mean that
questions?
it's going to be, we're going to be losing that, the daytime location at McKinley?
No, McKinley will be there. Will be there 24/7. So the Edge Hill crew, it'll be 24/7. It'll just be from the intersection. There's a commercial property at Twining and Lime Kilns where we're looking right now. So just over the township line, just relocated.
I understand, that's the one, okay,
Yeah.
no problem,
So
great.
no change. And as we get closer, we can show you. We've done some mapping, we've done some overlays, and it kind of just shifts around the coverage. But at the end, it'll be improved service to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for the information. Now we're going to start with our regular agenda. PS1 is a motion to adopt ordinance number 2115, amending Chapter 156, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 14, Stop Intersections, and Chapter 156, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking Regulations, Section 26, Parking Prohibited During Certain Hours, for adoption at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners on April 14th, 2016 at 7:30 p.m., and I so move.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Yes,
Just briefly, said this before, I just want to thank Traffic Safety Officer Freed. This motion includes the new time-restricted parking that we worked out with some of the folks in the 1100 block of Gravania Avenue, and one that affects both of our wards. And certainly, Officer Freed's help was invaluable in making this happen, so many thanks.
And I thank you as well. Any other and he thanks you more, apparently. Any other comments or questions from commissioners, staff, audience? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. PS2 is a motion to advertise ordinance number 2118, amending Chapter 156, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking Regulations, Section 25, Parking Prohibited at all times, no parking between signs, no parking here to corner, parking prohibited except certain hours, no stopping or standing, for adoption at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners on May 12, 2016, at 7:30 p.m., and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Staff? The public? Anybody? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And PS3 is a motion to appoint candidate Alex Levy from the Certified Civil Service Eligibility List to the position of probationary police officer, provided he successfully completes the background, physical, and psychological tests and all entry requirements of the Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission for Act 120. Training appointment will be effective May 2nd, 2016, and I so move.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions from commissioners? Staff or the public? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any comments from the public on anything having to do with public safety?
start this picture around here. If you could just pass it to each other so you can see it. I only have time for one. And I'll pick it up at the other end. At a recent meeting, one commissioner made comments that seemed to indicate he really doesn't understand the amount of impact that the decisions that you make here have on people's lives, people's homes, and how we work. This picture that's coming around is a picture of just one sewer that is overflowing.
public safety.
In another case, a sewer manhole was seen literally exploding off of the sewer. And these are the issues that we're talking about. And when I talk about them, we have commissioners that try to add some words that aren't true, then say everything I said was incorrect. Of course, I didn't say it. They did. Okay? And then leave the audience with the impression that these things are not happening and that you're not causing them. Okay? The decisions being made in this township are removing green space in favor of tanks and slow release, et cetera, and people are being told that that's making things better. Very clearly, if you look at all the years that we've been installing tanks, not much has been made better. And in many, many properties, we are just removing green space. Go down the fairway and take a look at what we used to have for a buffer and what you thought was fine to have for a buffer now. And you cannot replace the value of trees that absorb hundreds of gallons of water, clean the air, beautify the land with a rain barrel. It doesn't work. A rain barrel is filled up in a matter of minutes in a very heavy storm and overflows wherever it wants to go. That's not water control. And the fact that you are now legislating to require rain barrels while you also have somebody making rain barrels and making money off them and then giving that money to other people to do other things with is just outrageous. All of that is just outrageous. And it affects people's lives, not just their pocketbooks. So if there's something that you need to know to understand, please ask, okay? Because nobody is asking and wanting to understand these things and whose lives they're affecting. So when you stay here at this dais and you say, we're not responsible, you are responsible. It's the policies happening in this room that are creating a lot of misery in a lot of lives. And what happens in this township does affect other townships and has affected them very dramatically. Okay?
Thank you for your comments. I am not sure if you said your name and address.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments from the public?
It's hard to follow that.
Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
All right. I officially call to order the Abington Township Public Affairs Committee of April 6, 2016. Can we start with the roll call, please? Here.
Here.
Here. Here. All right, thank you. We're going to start with approval of the minutes. This is a motion to approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2016 Public Affairs Committee meeting, and I so move.
Second.
Any comments or any such? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. All right, we have a lot of visitors and reports tonight, so let's jump right into it. With a report, a quarterly report we're going to have now from our excellent Economic Development Committee. I'd like to call on the chair, Doug Callentine, a great Ward 11 neighbor. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you very much. I think I'm embarrassed to say you would categorize these as quarterly reports. I don't think we were here the last quarter, or maybe even the quarter before.
This is the first of many quarterly reports.
We were here recently, but it was probably sometime last year. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share with you some of the things that we're doing at the Economic Development Committee. And I want to talk about really three different things. One, what we've done recently. Two, what we're looking to do over the course of this year, 2016. And then three, talk a little bit about I'll call it a challenge, an opportunity, a consideration as it relates to funding of various grants that we've been involved in. So first, just to remind everyone, the mission of the EDC really is to promote economic development within the township, create jobs, create tax revenues that will enhance the financial viability of the township in a responsible fashion. And so our mission is stated here. And looking back over the last number of months, probably the last 12, 15 months, we've done a number of different things. And I think one of the things you may have received already is a updated business resource guide. We spent a fair amount of time earlier, or all of last year, looking at not only the guide itself, which is a fairly voluminous volume, but also creating a kind of a quick sheet, which you guys, I think, have in front of you, so that if anyone comes into the township, wants to inquire, thank you, John, wants to inquire about how to start a business, how to expand a business, how to build a new property, there's a kind of a checklist of items that they can go through that determines what they need to do, who they need to talk to, and hopefully that'll be well received by those that come to visit us. We've helped create or reestablish, I should say, the Roslyn Valley Business Association with the help of Commissioner Shriver and as well as Commissioner Myers. We've got a list of people now that are very actively involved, probably at least 25. They've done a number of different projects, including lighting of the light poles from Susquehanna Road up to the Willow Grove Mall with holiday lights. They've had different times of year. They have different colored lights. They have a number of different events that they've started, and so there's an enthusiasm that's being generated there. We still have some challenges and issues, but it's being led by the residents, the business owners themselves, and that's a good thing, and we feel good accomplishment in that regard. About this time last year, maybe even a little longer ago, a group of people within the EDC started working with certain commissioners as well as business owners at the Old York Road and Susquehanna intersection, and have developed a plan of action there in which hopefully we can acquire properties that have not been available for a good number of years, demolish those, and then redevelop that whole corner as kind of the keystone of the township, the entrance into the heart of the township. We actually applied for not one but two grants during the course of the year, one with DCED and another with PennDOT, with the idea being that theoretically one of those would hopefully get approved. Like many organizations within the state, we got hung up a bit with this whole budget battle, which has now been, I guess, I don't know if resolved is the right word, but it's been settled.
Softened.
Softened. And there are various meetings scheduled both with PennDOT and DCED, which we hope to hear from probably by July at the latest, perhaps June, as to whether what the success of those grants have been. We also have had the opportunity to recommit people to the EDC committee itself. You folks have been very helpful in approving the recommendations that have been made. We've added 5 new people in the last year or so, 15 months. We had outlined 4 criteria that we were looking for from these individuals, at least that they maintain one of them, either grant writing expertise, real estate expertise, financial expertise, or regional urban planning expertise. And it's our pleasure to say that all 5 of the people we brought on have at least one of those components, if not more. We've gotten some added benefits as well, in that a number of them are actively working at the Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. One's working for SEPTA in a planning and engineering mode, which is going to be very helpful with some of the SEPTA issues going on in the township. So we've gotten some real benefits from these new members to the committee. We've also been supportive of a number of projects that have occurred in the past year. The Penn State Housing Project, Bernie's Restaurant, the revitalization of the Abington Shopping Center, which probably has a special interest to at least one of us here in the room, and as he puts his head down. And so that's gone well. We continue to meet with business and institutional operators, owners here in the area, understand what their needs are, what their thoughts are. This includes Presby-inspired life with the Rydell Waters site, the Huntington Valley Shopping Center, Keswick Commons, the Wells Fargo Bank on the corner. We spent a fair amount of time with the YMCA, and I think probably all of you know that the YMCA has now entered into an agreement to purchase some ground in Upper Moreland. But the Y has made a commitment to try to maintain some level of presence here in Abington, principally as it relates to daycare-type opportunities. So we're going to continue to work with them on that. We also participated in the Montgomery County Planning Commission walking audit of the Noble area, and I understand the commissioners have recently adopted some of the output from that audit as it relates to some curb cuts and crosswalks on the Old York Road corridor there. So that feels like a good outcome for all of us in that regard. And as I mentioned before, we did apply for these 2 grants for the Old York Road in Susquehanna. I guess I'm not keeping up with my pages here. The 2016 goals that we've established. Last year, a number of us met with some of the neighboring jurisdictions in what we're calling a symposium. We met with Lower Moreland, Upper Moreland, Jenkintown, Cheltenham, and I believe Upper Dublin. The idea is that we would like to continue that, to continue to talk about what they're doing from an economic development standpoint, what we're doing, as well as other matters that maybe we can help one another in a more of a organized approach as it might be to these various items. We've also been very supportive of Penn State as it relates to this new innovation lab, makerspace, that they've partnered with the Abington Art Center on. There was a ribbon-cutting ceremony on March 17th, which many of you attended, and the president of Penn State University, University Park, and a delegation came down, and they were quite impressed with what's going on here in Abington. And so we envision that this could potentially be a significant economic driver over the course of the next 4 to 5 to 10 years in the sense of new jobs and new tax revenues that could be generated. We talked about Roslyn Valley Business Association. We've been active with the Keswick Village. One of our goals this year is to also try to assist them on the McKinley District with forming either a business association or at least some improvements in that area. So we have some work to do in that regard, but that's something that we're looking forward to pursuing. We also, each of our monthly meetings, invite in these various organizations to make a presentation on what they're doing in their facilities or in the township. We've had the Willow Grove Park Mall people in, we've had the Abington School District in, we've had a number of others to tell us what they're doing, and so we have a sense of what it is that we may be able to do to assist them as it relates to economic development. And we found that to be very helpful, not only for us, but I think for them to realize that the township's here to try and help them with their needs. As always, we're encouraging new business development in the township. I must say that there's probably not been as much recent activity as we saw last year, but we're ever hopeful that we will see more, and hopefully this business resource guide will be a mechanism in which that can be accomplished as well. Also this year, we hope to make a lot of progress on the 2 grants that we have received for the Noble and hopefully the grant that we'll get for the Old York Road in Susquehanna. And I guess in addition to the Noble, that includes the Crestmont facility, and so hopefully there will be some progress that we can report to you more on in one of these subsequent sessions. So in terms of the third point that we want to talk about, we categorize this as funding opportunities or funding considerations, or you might even say funding challenges, because all of these grants that we have applied for so far have had some matching component to them. In most cases, these have been at 30%. They're not all necessarily in the future that we might apply for would be at 30%, but can be a significant amount of money that we will have to, as a township, deal with. And one of the things that we wanted to bring to the table to talk about tonight was the fact that over the course of the next number of months, we as the EDC are willing and hoping to work with you as the commissioners to figure out ways that those fundings can occur, assuming the grants either are approved or those that are approved we can move forward on. We have 2 existing grants at Noble and Crestmont, which would require a funding match by the township of up to $900,000. The one at Old York and Susquehanna would be up to $600,000, so roughly $1.5 million out of existing grants. And we fully anticipate that over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, we may apply for other grants that would require some sort of match funding as well. So we are hopeful that we can, again, work with you to create a mechanism that can fund those opportunities as they are coming to fruition. And I think one of the things that we would like to also introduce in this concept, that there's really 2 ways to look at these grants. In some cases, they're good for the good of the township, whether it be not in our grant necessarily, but in other grants it may be for a sewer improvement or a street improvement of one sort or another. And that really may be an expenditure where you won't necessarily see the monies coming back, but at least you'll see you'll be doing the right thing for the township residents. In other cases, like Old York Road in Susquehanna and also at the Noble site, We firmly believe that these are going to be really more like investments. There'll be a bridge financing where the township will put up this match money, but there's a high likelihood that not only will the capital come back in whole, either through a developer purchasing what we've purchased in terms of the real estate, or in the terms of increased tax revenues. So I think one of the things we'd like to introduce in this concept is some of these may be expenditures, but a lot of these are going to be investments. And so keep that in mind as we talk about this in the months ahead. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have, any comments you might have. But if not, we'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
Does anyone have any questions for Doug? Well, I just want to say, first of all, Doug, thank you very much. You know, you and the new members of the EDC have certainly breathed a whole new life and energy and a very sort of proactive vision into the committee, and it's much appreciated. I certainly can't speak for folks in other committees, but I know, I mean, the point you make with regard to needing a plan for funding not only the grant matches that you mentioned, but other ones in the future, I think is definitely necessary. Since you've proven yourself to be an efficient and articulate speaker, maybe we can arrange, and again, I'm not speaking for any other committees, but maybe the folks from the Finance Committee would like to invite you to speak, and you can start a conversation there, because I think that's probably where that would need, you know, really where the vanguard of the initiative would need to come. Again, I'm not speaking for any other committees, but much appreciated, Doug.
Very good.
Oh, I do have a comment.
Oh,
Just one.
Carol.
Just one quick. I love the lights in Roslyn. I don't know who's doing that, but they change quickly, and it really has improved that area. It looks
If you get
great.
the chance to thank Ed Mickelmo.
Is it Ed?
Ed
Okay.
has really headed that up and done a great job.
Wow. It really looks great.
Very good. Thanks
Doug,
so much.
thanks. And as you leave the podium, I do want to acknowledge the presence of one of your colleagues, probably one of the most active members of the EDC, Jim Marshall. So we thank him for all his work, and we have another visitor here.
No.
Make a comment?
At the end, you can include those. You can include comments at the end.
Well, then there's only 3 minutes to have
Okay.
all the
Fine.
comments then.
We're not taking any action.
Doug didn't take much more than 3 minutes. We have a huge agenda to get to and a lot of speakers.
Yeah.
All right. That said, it is Earth Month, April, and what better time to hear from our good friends from the Environmental Advisory Council, our great EAC. So Jen Sherwood, welcome.
Thank you, John. Thank you, members of the board. I need to change the presentation here, so just give me a moment, please.
There you go.
Very good. Thank you, and happy Earth Month. April is Earth Month. Earth Day is actually April 22nd every year. And we're here tonight to describe a little bit about what the EAC does to help Abington go green. So we'll just briefly mention who we are, what we do, and how we're helping the township. So we are 7 members appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and we also have a wonderful group of associate members and many, many volunteers who help us out. Our objectives, of course, are to help the environment and advise the township, and a large part of our mission is also to educate the public. We help go green. So this past year, we focused very much on sustainability, protecting our watersheds, improving open space, and our education missions. A large part of our work was on sustainability, where we began participating in a program called STAR Communities, which helps us assess our sustainability. We held our annual Energy Savings Expo, and we also partnered with the Economic Development Committee to create a Shop Local program and the Go Green Rewards card, which every one of you should have received.
Looks like this.
So the STAR Communities program is a tool and it's being used throughout the country, and there are over 40 communities so far that are certified. And it's a tool that will help us evaluate our indicators for economic, social, and environmental conditions in our township. And all of these things can be put together to help us create a sustainability plan. And it's also a way for us to measure our progress with those future plans. So this was an all-volunteer effort, and the township did not have to pay for this. We received a 75% scholarship from STAR, and we used our rain barrels, which is also an all-volunteer effort, to fund the balance. So the rain barrel money is going right back into the township. There is not an intent to make a profit with that. So we'll be submitting our
And
application.
people didn't get the money, right? So you're using it for other activities, right?
I'm sorry?
You're using the rain barrel money for other activities. You're not dividing it up among private property owners, right?
No, the rain barrel money is only used for township programs, and we've used it to help township parks, and in this case, it's a sustainability program for the township.
Thank you.
So we'll be submitting our application next week, and recently Penn State Abington became a STAR affiliate, so they are also on board to partner with us. And for this year, once we establish our baseline, we'll be participating in a program called the Leading Indicators Pilot Program. So that will help us make our plans for the future. Once a year, we hold our Energy Savings Expo, and this is to help people who would like to save energy, because energy is one of the leading contributors to climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. So every year we host this workshop. This year it was at the Abington Library, and it teaches people how to save energy at home and with transportation, informs them about energy audits and return on investment in projects like solar, geothermal, or zero net energy homes. So it informs people of how they can get the biggest bang for their buck. And we have a volunteer that created a website called MakeBenProud.com, as in Benjamin Franklin, which is a unbiased listing of green energy prices from all of our suppliers. So it's a way for people to find unbiased information. Our partnership with the Economic Development Committee was to create a Shop Local program, because we know that this helps grow our community. And what we did was we created this Go Green Rewards card that encourages people to take green actions, and they earn points when they take green actions. And then the card, when they fill it up, becomes a discount card to local businesses. So this encourages people to shop local and improves traffic to those businesses. So here's just a partial listing of how people can earn points and some of the businesses that are currently participating. And we've already got more, but I didn't have time to fit them all in. So we're encouraging Shop Local in partnership with the EDC, and for every $100 spent in Abington businesses, $68 returns to our community, as opposed to non-local businesses where only $43 returns to our community. So this is a way of also encouraging sustainability. So sustainability is not just the environment, but it's also the economic and social factors as well. All right, moving on, our other goal was to continue to protect our watersheds, and we assist the township with meeting the Clean Water Act and the MS4 requirements. We are providing low-cost rain barrels as a service to our residents, and we help create and maintain riparian buffers, and we're also monitoring water quality. So for the MS4, which is the Municipal Separate Stormwater System Permit, which the township has, we help with the education and outreach requirements, the public involvement, and the infiltration and project identification programs. So the reason that we're offering rain barrels is that rain barrels are the least expensive way to manage rainwater. We understand that it is not a complete solution. It's a partial solution, but it's an inexpensive way for people to manage their water, and it also raises awareness. So last year we had 6 workshops about stormwater and rain barrels. We had over 120 people attend, and they're learning why stormwater is an issue. Pollution is causing our waterways to be degraded, and every little bit that you can help to retain some of that water helps our environment. So this is an all-volunteer program, and we're having assistance with the Public Works, the Parks, and the Police Department. It's all volunteers, and the money is going into sustaining the project, so it's self-funded. We started this program with a grant, but now it's self-funded. So it's a great way to help residents manage their water. So in this past year, we sold 144 barrels. We had a lot of workshops, and currently we have 2.4% of Abington households who have rain barrels. Now, they are not required to buy rain barrels from us. Let's make that clear. They can buy them from anywhere they like, but we are providing them with inexpensive barrels. Now, we are almost to the 1 million gallon mark. So this year, we will, if we place 433 barrels in the community, we'll be able to capture 1 million gallons of stormwater. As we said, it's a drop in the bucket, but it's a way to raise awareness and for people to help the environment. Another way we help manage water is with riparian buffers. Now, we have about 7 or 8 of these already in the township, and the Tookonie-Tacony-Frankford Watershed Partnership led a project this year to create one at Ethel Jordan Park in the McKinley section. So the EAC partnered on this project along with the Abington Rotary and some other organizations, and we had about 100 volunteers come out and plant the buffer. The EAC will be helping and maintain it, and it will act as a big sponge and soak up all that rainwater and filter out pollution. So the William Penn Foundation wants to know, are these projects working? They have been funding many initiatives, and so they are now funding something called the Delaware River Watershed Initiative, which actually covers several projects throughout the watershed. And the Delaware River Watershed goes all the way up into New York State. The part that affects us is called the Upstream Suburban Philadelphia Cluster. So it's 5 watersheds, and Abington has 3 of those watersheds. So there are several monitoring sites in Abington. This is a 3-year project, and the stream keepers are all volunteers. The program is being organized by those watersheds, such as Tookonie-Tacony-Frankford Watershed. And we're making monthly observations, and then the watersheds will evaluate those results and report back to the William Penn Foundation. And here's one of our wonderful volunteers who happens to be a Penn State Abington student. Another goal is to improve open space. So we're often doing cleanup and maintenance and taking care of trees. We partner with the Shade Tree Commission and many other community organizations. But these events are really, they're to spruce up the parks and maybe some roadsides and other open space. And we have a lot of partners who help out with this. So you can see our list of partners, but we want to thank many of the commissioners who've come out and helped with these events, and many of the scout groups, and of course the township for helping us with all these. So last year we had about 18 events, and something significant here is that we planted over 413 trees and flowers. So all of these trees are helping manage stormwater. So that's an additional benefit, because our green spaces do provide many environmental services. And the Montgomery County has come out with a little booklet called Return on Environment, which actually gives value to those environmental services. So we want to thank you all for helping Abington, keeping Abington beautiful. This year, of course, we have a whole lineup of events coming up. So if you'd like to participate, just show up. Or if you have an area that you think needs sprucing up, let us know, and we can help you out. Our other goal is, of course, to educate the public, and we offer a variety of workshops and social media. We participate at tables at community events, and we have displays throughout the township. So we're always out there trying to get the word and encouraging people to go green. We have lots of partnerships, and a new one this year is with the Pennsylvania Audubon and the Wyncote Audubon Society. So last March we became an Audubon bird town. with the help of the Abington Senior High School Earth Serve Club. And by being a member of this, Audubon will help us host workshops. They'll provide us with information. They can help you certify your yard as habitat and encourage organic yard practices. And of course, we're also hosting bird walks throughout Abington. They're free, and anybody is welcome to join us. If you attend one of these events, or if you certify your yard, you can earn Go Green Rewards points. So we'll hope you'll consider participating. And of course, the EAC has lots of partners. We have many events coming up, and you'll see some of our partners here, like Briarbush, Shade Tree Commission, the library. We'll be having a rain barrel workshop at the Public Safety Training Center. So lots of things going on. So check out our website to find out what's happening, and we encourage you to list them in your newsletters. And finally, once a year, we honor someone in the township or group that has helped with the environment. And last year, our award went to the Redeemer Valley Garden for promoting healthy organic foods. And we accept nominations all year round. We could use a few new ones. So if you know someone and would like to nominate them, our form is available on the website. And like I said, we do accept them all year. We on April 30th, we cut it off for that year, and we make our decision. We do carry them year to year. So for this year, our goals are to continue to improve our community, continue to expand those partnerships, and we'll be using the Star Communities tool to help create it. Now that we're going to have a baseline, we'll be using that to make our future plans. And we put in diverting 1 million gallons of rainwater because we're going to make it this year. And I think that rain barrels do add up and make a difference. And of course, we're always engaging more volunteers. And we have somewhere around 400 volunteers that help with our projects every year. So we have quite an outreach, and we're proud of that. So you can help by promoting our events in your newsletters or partnering with us on a project. And our meetings, of course, are open to the public. Anyone is encouraged to volunteer, or if they're interested, they can become an associate member. And our contact information is here. If anyone has any questions, I would be glad to answer them. And we'd all like to encourage you to help Abington go green.
Jen, many, many thanks. Do you have any questions? Commissioner Schreiber.
Two quick questions. So the yard, if you want to have your yard be a bird, what do you call it? Bird's not sanctuary, bird.
It's called bird habitat.
Bird habitat.
Bird place.
Bird place, a fun place for birds. If you want to do that, or if you are interested in this card, does your website explain how to do those things?
Our website has information about the card. I will have to add a link to Audubon, Pennsylvania, which has the information on how to certify your yard. Okay. So I will add that. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you guys for all the hard work you put in. Every year, I see you around the community and what you do, and it's really amazing. And I know the pay's not great, so I really appreciate everything you guys do. It's an asset to the township, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Kalowski.
Same thing. I would like to thank you guys for all the hard work you do and staying in the community. One question I had for you. How much do you sell the rain barrels for?
Oh, the rain barrels, the pricing is on our website.
Uh-huh.
Are they $35, $45,
so
$40 and up? And
it's a bargain.
It is a bargain.
It really is a bargain.
You can't get one cheaper than that.
Let alone the knowledge that you bring with the barrel that you guys purchase and the maintenance. Because so many people will go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot. They'll buy a barrel. They're not maintaining these barrels. You guys give them the knowledge and the ability to maintain. So I really appreciate that. And I hope more people come your way for rain barrels than go to a big department store and buy one there. So thank you.
Thank you. But a big part of the rain barrels is understanding what they're used for, and like you said, how to use them and how to maintain them. And that's what the workshop is for. And if you come to a workshop, you get $10 off your rain barrel.
Yeah, we've had experience of a neighbor who bought a rain barrel, not from you guys, but from someone else, and they don't maintain it. So that's a it's a problem that had to be addressed and continues to be addressed, so.
And we try to teach people how to make it easy to maintain them.
Yeah.
And if anyone has a question, whether they've gotten one from us or elsewhere,
Right.
Refer them to us. We can answer all their questions. We can help them find parts if they need something, or whatever it takes to make their rain barrel functional.
Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jen, I just want to say, one initiative that has, I think, really gotten the attention of a lot of folks in and around our township throughout the community is the significant increase in the EAC's presence on social media, particularly Facebook. It's so easy to find and link to EAC events, to share them in our newsletters and our own Facebook pages, on the township Facebook page. So I really, to be commended for really getting the word out through that very important channel.
Well, thank you. And I will thank our associate member, Karen McGarry-Rosen.
I know her.
Ward 11
She
resident,
lives in Ward 11.
who has been wonderful in keeping our social media updated.
And speaking of which, also give a quick shout out to Michelle and Kaki, and also Dr. Rita Stevens from our Shade Tree Commission, who, another huge partner in maintaining and enhancing our environmental integrity. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Spiegelman?
Oh, Commissioner Klein has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a time to thank Kaki for, I know I've seen how much she's been working on the STAR community and continues to delve into it and get immersed in it. I had an opportunity to be at a meeting with her at Penn State that was organized by the Meadowbrook Civic Association, and it's just amazing how much time and knowledge and information that she's trying to pull together for the STAR communities. I know EAC is helping. It's a collaborative effort, but I just wanted to bring up Kaki's name just because I know how much she's putting into it. So thanks, Kaki.
Thank you. And thank you, Kaki, for your amazing enthusiasm.
She's everywhere.
Commissioner Rothman?
She does it in between emailing me about it.
Commissioner Rothman, did you...
Kaki, is that May 18th that we have the Abington Town Hall?
May 25th.
May 25th, 18th?
May 25th.
Okay. I'll make sure that at the full board meeting we share some information so people can put that in.
We have our latest newsletter, and it's right here with the girl with the phone.
Sounds good. Everybody should pick that up. That's a great event that Kaki's been working hard on, and we were with that with Stephen as well, and Ben and some others, John too.
No.
Many, many thanks, Jen. Again, you can comment at the end. This is not a matter that we're voting on. No.
There's no action before the board.
The other people left already.
There is no action before the board. I'm not going to go through the procedures. We are moving on to our Parks and Recreation report from the always cheerful Director Doug Wendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. One is we have our USTA trip, the tennis championships in New York, coming up in September. It's September 1st. It may seem like it's a number of months away and too soon to think about it, but we only have 40 tickets. So if anyone's interested, there are 125, I believe, for the ticket and the transportation. We do have about 10 to 12 seats available on the bus if someone has tickets and just wants transportation. That's like $40. It's usually a good day for tennis. If you like watching tennis, it's a long day, but it's a lot of fun. You see a lot of tennis when you go up there. The other thing is that I was on the phone today with our representative from DCNR, the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, regarding our feasibility study. And so as soon as I can get the RFP and the scope of work completed and approved by them, we'll be sending that out. So if anybody's out there that does feasibility studies for swimming pools, give me your name and I'll be happy to send out the information to you. We already have a list of about 4 or 5, but I'm sure there may be others. The more the merrier.
Thank you kindly. Any Commissioner Schreiber?
I know you have various trips, you announce them in here and stuff. Do you ever add new ones, or are they the same ones year to
We
year?
change. It depends on the demand. I know that Andy is doing a trip to, he's going out to the Civil War site.
Gettysburg. That's in the
We did that a few years in a row, and then that petered out. And then people come and do that again. Washington, D.C. is a trip that goes up and down depending on demand. We were thinking of doing a trip down to to Virginia for some things down there, so it just depends on what people are willing to. If someone has a particular trip that they're interested
No, I
in, we
saw
need.
one, I don't remember where I saw it, but there's but it's fairly close.
Annapolis.
Annapolis.
We were going to Annapolis, too.
Annapolis.
The Sculpture Garden in New Jersey.
That could be some.
I don't remember
very
who was on
possibly
it.
could
Hamilton.
be-
Where is it called?
Right near the Hamilton train station. It's
That's
a
a nice
sculpture garden.
sculpture
It's really
Yeah,
cool.
I've heard that's a really cool
I
place
don't know
to
if
go.
that's like the Briar Bush trip, because
Yeah, I don't
they
think
do
that
their
was-
own type of trip.
No, I
as
think it
well.
was another township. It wasn't
Oh,
us.
it
I
wasn't
don't
us.
think.
I mean, if somebody has an interest, we need usually somewhere between 35 and 40 people to go on the trip to make it pay for the bus and all that. So Andy Oles, Oles at Abington, or at Comcast.net. If you send your suggestions to him, you can work it out. But yeah, we change. It depends on what people want to see. Like Mount Vernon was the one I was thinking of in Virginia. We just didn't get a big turnout for that.
They're always day trips, though, right?
Generally, I mean, other than,
It's like the further place, you'd, I guess, leave earlier, come back later, but a closer place, Princeton or something.
most of the time it's a single day. Like at the U.S., we leave at 7:30 in the morning. We get back around 9, 10 o'clock at night, depending on the trips. Andy's about the same. They're usually 3 to 4 hour maximum drives. I've tried overnight trips with teenagers, and that aged me about 20 years, I think.
Any chance of like a Bermuda trip? Maybe we could like get Commissioner
I'm game.
Hecker, Commissioner Sanchez
I'm
on
sure
a
I can
Bermuda
talk
trip?
to-
That might be like,
I'm sure I can talk to a travel agent. All I need is probably about 15 people.
I could find that. Commissioner Rothman had a question.
Actually, Doug, you answered most of my questions. The USTA trip, that's $125, is that what you said?
I believe so, yeah. That's the ticket and the transportation.
Okay, and 7:30 a.m. you said. Where does that leave from?
Applethorpe Park, the main entrance.
Okay.
And that's where we come back to. So your cars are secure in there while we're gone, and let the driver do the driving. You know, sit back and relax and ignore all that traffic in New York.
And that's September what again?
September 1st.
First,
It's a
thank
Thursday.
you.
It's the first week of the Open. I think I'll be there.
I think
It's
you should be.
about it's usually within the first 8 to 10 days that that the program is going on. You don't want to go right away, because then you get to see a little bit higher level seeded players. But we watch players who are lower seeded and beat the 2 and 3 and 4 seeds and stuff. So sometimes you see some really unusual matches, but you can get out on the outer courts and be as close as I am to you, to some very well-known players while they're playing their singles or doubles. And it's just a nice day. It's crowded. There's a lot of people that go that day. There's over 100,000 people at a time.
And not to belabor the point, are those grounds pass tickets, or are they for the stadium?
Your seats are reserved, and generally, over the last few years, we get the tickets. The reserved seats are in, I believe it's Armstrong, and then all the other seats are first come, first serve in the other ones. But we're usually in a corner, probably in Y, which is pretty high up there. But not everybody goes to every match, so sometimes you can move down, but
Sure.
not into the expensive seats. So it's good. You're in the corner, so you're not, like a hockey game going back and forth and hurting your neck all day long.
We could chat more about tennis another time.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
They're right near third base.
My wife is the tennis aficionado.
Sounds good.
That's why we go.
All right, well, if there are no other questions, thank you very much, Doug.
You're welcome.
And now we are finally going to move on to our formal agenda, starting with PA1, Resolution Number 16-016, Fair Housing. This is a motion to adopt Resolution Number 16-016, the annual Fair Housing Resolution to further fair housing practices within the Township of Abington, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Director Struther, is this something you want to speak about?
Yes, Commissioner. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Abington Township is an entitlement community under the Federal Fair Housing Act. Part of the obligation that we have is reporting. Recently, the federal government has increased its reporting for fair housing, and they have advanced the requirements where they ask the governing body on an annual basis to pass a resolution which is before you. I know it may be repetitive because last year in December we passed the same resolutions. I'd like to thank Commissioner Sanchez for adding additional text to be consistent with our Abington Human Relations Commission's text. But I apologize for the repetitiveness of this, but this is a federal requirement.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from members of the committee? Commissioners in general? Township staff? Audience? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. PA 1 passes. PA 2, substantial amendment to the Community Development Block Grant. This is a motion to advertise the public hearing on the substantial amendment to the Community Development Block Grant scheduled for 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, July 14th, 2016, in the second floor boardroom of the Abington Township Administration Building, located right here at 1176 Old York Road, Abington, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I know this is just a motion to advertise. Director Strother, I know you briefly commented on this the other day. Anything you need to add, or?
No, it's just a motion to advertise. I'll
Okay.
come back with additional information.
All right, then any questions from the committee? Commissioners in general? Township staff? Audience? Name and address for the record, please.
Laura Lehman, Meadowbrook. So I'm trying to understand, we don't know what's we're advertising to make the changes to the block grant, but we don't know what they are, the amendment to the block grant, but we don't know what it is yet?
No, we do know. It's still in draft form. The governing body has not seen it. This request that's before the governing body is just a motion to advertise. The advertisement will have it all spelled out. I can mention several of the projects. There are projects that have been canceled. It's the 1800 block of Watson Avenue, the 2200 block of Nyler Avenue, and Grove Park lighting, but that's just only in the preliminary stages.
Okay, and so normally, when we advertise something, you have the thing that you're advertising as part of the document.
This is well in advance of the
This is
date.
well
It will be
I'm asking
made
permission
available.
to advertise. I'm not
Okay.
advertising.
It is the advertising
Is-
that makes the amendment public. Once we vote on it next Thursday, and we voted to advertise it, the amendment and the stuff that Mr. Struthers is putting together then becomes public.
It's literally advertised, available to the public and to all of us to peruse in advance of this meeting, which is several months away.
Okay, all right, and we'll figure that out later, because, all right, I'll figure that out later. So are there any of the things that we had talked about before? Do you mind if I ask Mr. Struther?
You can, I mean, you can address it to me, and if Mr. Struther is in a position to answer, that is his choice.
Okay, so I'd like to ask Mr. Struther if there are any of the things that we had talked about before that were crucial that are on there, that Nyler and Grove Park and so on were not. Are there any of the items that we talked about that are being changed in this coming amendment?
Our actions will be consistent with the 5-year plan that was passed by the governing body last year.
All right.
Okay, and that draft would be available to us the day that it's advertised and not a moment before, or it's available now?
It was made available last year, and I believe we have talked, you and I have talked about it numerous times, in addition to other persons, so this is nothing new.
No, it just keeps coming up. I don't know what version we're talking about when it does, that's why I'm asking.
The amendment will be made public once we vote to advertise.
All right, thank you.
All right. No further questions. We will vote. All those in favor of PA2?
Aye.
Opposed? PA2 is adopted. PA3, Resolution Number 16-017, supporting the grant application to DCNR for the development of the natural resources in the Ardsley Wildlife Sanctuary. This is a motion to approve Resolution Number 16-017, which supports the application of the DCNR for a grant to improve the natural habitat in the Ardsley Wildlife Sanctuary, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Doug, any comments?
Mr. Chairman, this is just a routine requirement by DCNR for any of their grant applications. The board had passed the resolution last month approving of the application to that, and this probably should have been done then, but we just need to do this before we can actually send the application in.
Just tell them it was my fault. Any questions from the committee? From the board in general, Commissioner Klein?
Doug, is there any, is there any match on this grant application, if we receive the grant?
I think that the match money is being found outside of the township. So, I mean, it's, I don't know exactly, because, well, Rita can answer that.
Dr. Stevens, if you could just give your name and address for the record.
Rita Stevens, Stanley Avenue. The match is actually from our MS4 money, and so the
okay.
discussion last month
Yeah.
was, it's a $40,000 ask from DCNR, $20,000 match from MS4, and a little over $20,000 that we've raised in kind. So it'll be a total $80,000 project.
Wow. Thank you, Rita. That's now. When you said it, now I remember it.
Thank you very much. Any further questions from the board, township staff, audience? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? PA3 passes. Finally, we have PA4 pertaining to House Bill 340, PN 2947. This is a motion to request State Representative Dean's support in opposing House Bill 340 in its present format, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Manager Lefevre, I think a lot of us know about this already, but do you want to give a brief overview?
Certainly, Commissioner. This is a bill that's been passed out of the House Government Committee. I don't know that it's yet been scheduled for a vote by the full House, or if it will be scheduled by the vote by the full House. But the State Association of Township Commissioners, representing townships of the first class, has come out in opposition to the bill. The Montgomery and Delaware County Associations of Township Commissioners have also opposed the bill and have asked individual municipalities to publicly voice their opposition to the local representative should it come before the House for a vote. The proposed bill makes several changes to the requirements under the for executive session, redefines what's included under deliberation. It limits any discussion to one specific employee on a personnel matter. It requires recording of executive sessions and retention of those recordings for a certain period of time, which raises some legal questions if our solicitor's involved in attorney-client privilege. And it's basically a bill, it's a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. You know, as this board is aware, we have very few executive sessions, despite the number of employees we have. Probably on an annual basis, we have 4 to 6 executive sessions. But I know just last year, there was at least one executive session I can recall that involved more than one employee. And to suggest that something like that will be discussed publicly is totally inappropriate. So for those reasons, it's before the board tonight for your consideration, and depending how the committee and the board reacts, we'll pass your concerns on to our state rep.
Thank you for the explanation, Manager Lefevre. Are there any questions from members of the committee? From commissioners in general? Commissioner Hecker.
Just wondering, has anybody spoken to Representative Dean about this directly?
I've spoken to her chief of staff in the local office, but, you know, formally until the board actually takes a position, you know, can't do much more at this point.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Myers.
Thank you. Manager Lefevre, and forgive me if you said this, would executive sessions be recorded no matter what you were talking about? Would all executive sessions be recorded?
If this bill were to be approved, yes.
And would those recordings be subject to, would they be put away, or are they subject to resident disclosure? What would be done with those recordings?
They have to be retained for a year. They would not be subject to right to know for public's information. And based on the intent, I think, my understanding is to provide a commissioner that wasn't at the executive session the opportunity to listen to the recording at a later date.
I have to be honest with you, I'm not really sure I see the downside of this. What is the opposition?
And I'll defer to the solicitor, but the main problem is, right now, you're permitted to meet in executive session on personnel matters. Now it has to be limited to one specific employee, not personnel. And as I mentioned before, we've had executive sessions involving more than one employee. So, and anything more than one employee has to be discussed in public. And it's just totally inappropriate, to be perfectly honest. And I'm sure...
Just give me an example of, and it doesn't have to be anything that's happened, but just give me an example that would involve more than one employee, say in Township X. Just give me an example. Or perhaps the solicitor can give me an example from another township without mentioning any names.
No, I think that the concern regarding that provision is right now the collective bargaining provision would remain. So if you're talking about negotiating a union contract, you would be able to still discuss that in executive session. I think the concern about this provision is that, for instance, you may be talking about the restructuring of a department. You may want to have a discussion, the manager may want to talk about a personnel matter involving restructuring a department. And remember, this just wouldn't apply to townships. It could also apply to school districts. And they may be talking about restructuring a department, moving certain people around. They may be talking as part of the budget process that we're going to have layoffs in this area, and then we're going to have to maybe move some other people. With this change, that would either have to be done in public, or it would have to be done in what I think is problematic for a group this size, sort of the small batch discussions, meaning the manager could discuss it with 5 of you at a time, and then another 5 of you at a time, and then another 5 of you at a time, which doesn't seem to be very productive. So I think that's one of the concerns about that provision, is that sometimes there are issues that don't just relate to one employee, may relate to a department, may relate to other things that are going on, may relate to a problem in a department. We may be having issues in, I'm looking at Chief Kelly's seat. I'll say we may be having issues in the police department, and the manager wants to bring that to all of your attention. Under this change, he wouldn't be able to. Or it would have to be done in the end around, which is that small batch discussion, which isn't really an effective way of communicating to a full board.
So what you're saying is, because the understanding that we have now is that it must be a personnel matter, but you're saying the definition of a personnel matter right now is much broader.
Much broader.
And this would narrow that down.
That would narrow it down, and it would have to pertain to a particular employee. You would have to be the issue would have to relate to a particular employee. So if the manager wanted to talk to you about eliminating 3 people from one department and reassigning them to another department, or somebody, wanting to restructure a department, it would have to be done either in public or in these small batches. The other change that is problematic is changing the word deliberation. The courts expanded the right to know law a few years ago, which allowed the board to take informational sessions, to be provided information in executive session, and that would not qualify as deliberation as long as you weren't taking straw votes, or as long as you weren't deliberating, asking questions, asking how everyone feels about it, but just receiving information from someone, that could be an executive session. This bill would attempt to override that court decision. The other change, I think no one is really opposed to, which is you can if something is to deal with security, that can now be added into the executive session. But I think a very problematic area is the recording of these executive sessions. And while the townships and PSATs and other groups are talking about opposing this bill, I think that the Bar Association is also looking at it, because it's somewhat problematic, because I don't frankly want my conversations with my clients, which are attorney-client privileged, being recorded. It could end up violating the privilege if, for some reason, a judge determines that, because it can be released by court order. If a judge determines that, this has to be released, this tape has to be released, it could end up violating attorney-client privilege. So that's one of the other concerns about this.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Rothman.
Solicitor Clark, I have another question. Is what you're saying that essentially the way this is drafted presently, that it puts the privacy of personnel, it's actually for you as well, Michael, that puts the privacy of our township personnel at risk if we have any discussions regarding, let's even say, performance of certain individuals, if it's more than one individual?
It certainly does present that problem.
And I also, I understand as an attorney the sanctity of the attorney-client privilege. That would the way this is written right now present any issues with one of the commissioners speaking with you as solicitor?
No, because that doesn't relate here, because anytime I speak with an individual solicitor, or the individual, I'm the solicitor, an individual commissioner, that wouldn't be
It's not covered
the
anyway.
Sunshine Act isn't covered. No.
Right, okay.
But just the regular ethical rules of attorney-client privilege are in play at that point in time, so.
Sure. Okay, just wanted a clarification. Thank you.
Solicitor Clark and Manager Lefevre, has there been some sort of epidemic of sunshine rule workarounds or anything shady going on in municipalities throughout the Commonwealth that this bill was drafted to somehow combat?
There's certainly no problem here in this township. I'm not aware of any problems in any other municipality in Montgomery County. I suspect this may be an issue somewhere in central PA, some remote county or municipality, and for whatever reason, it's gotten this far. But I'm not aware of any problems, at least in the Philadelphia region.
The primary sponsor is Representative Rick Saccone, who I believe is from Westmoreland or Washington County. He's been in the news recently regarding the budget process when some of his opinions have been made public. But from what I've been able to determine in the last couple of days since this has come up, this seems to be a problem that a municipality is having in his district. So he is attempting to write legislation that will impact the entire state because of problems that are occurring in his district. We sometimes see legislation like this where legislators are trying to deal with something in their home district, so they're writing legislation that isn't really needed, but it's maybe makes people back home happy. So.
Well, that's good governance then. Commissioner Schreiber.
I'm not sure if I'm going to word this correctly, but so is it possible if this bill were to go through that if something came up that might violate another law, like a HIPAA law or something, like what I'm thinking in particular is if more than one employee, say, had to be drug tested, and so we would have to then talk about it out in public because it's more than one person, would that be a HIPAA violation at that point?
Well, I'm not a HIPAA expert. I know that HIPAA normally deals with providers and not with people who come into information in some other role. Okay. But I do believe that there can be, as Commissioner Rothman said, there can be some privacy issues that could be implicated here. The Sunshine Act contains a provision that says you can discuss something in an executive session if it would otherwise violate a lawful privilege. It's really not a part of the act that's been explored much, but there are certainly situations, and again, we could all think of a hypothetical where the manager may need to discuss something involving 2 or 3 employees. There may be an issue with 2 or 3 employees. There may be some personality conflicts between 2 or 3 employees. And the way this seems to be written, he'd have to do that in public. And now if one of those things he was bringing up was that employee X is suspected of having a drug problem and it's been reported by employee Y and employee Z, then are we violating the privacy rights of employee X who has come to his superior and said, I have a drug problem? So there's a whole host of problems with this.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Township staff? Audience? Name and address for the record, please.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. It seems like some of those things could be resolved by finding the right amendments to include the things you want to include and yet cover the things that are problematic and causing the bill to come forward, which I think would be a better idea than just opposing it. Talk about the good parts of what's been recommended and add amendments for the others, and I think that would be a better solution. The other thing is, I would hope in this township, one of the things that happens is, that you say you've been in executive session before the meeting, but we rarely get told what the topic is and what it's about. And in many, many cases, in perhaps a few cases, there might be a reason not to say so, but even if it's a specific individual, you could say, we had an executive session talking about a particular individual. We can't disclose anything further about that. But sometimes it's an executive session that involves things that the residents might like to know are going on. We want to understand the business of this township, and so that's one of the areas that has been a completely locked door, which is probably what prompted some of the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. For the record, very briefly, as longtime viewers will note, generally when we have an executive session, President Luker will say, he will make a note, there was an executive session at a certain date and time, and it's about a legal matter or about an employment matter. We can't really go into specifics beyond that. Am I correct, Solicitor Clark?
And what President Luker announces when there is an executive session held is exactly what is required by the law.
Right. Thank you very much. All right.
And he doesn't.
We're almost done, and you can add that into your comments afterwards.
I just want to deal with it now. I mean, this is
You know
what
what?
we're talking about.
You know what?
Understanding.
30 seconds.
For
30 seconds.
understanding, okay? So, yes, you do say that, but if somebody, for instance, files a lawsuit against the township, as the Colonnade did, okay, $5 million lawsuit they filed against the township, and if you discuss that in executive session, that lawsuit is already public knowledge. It was filed openly in court.
We're not gonna rehash the Colonnade that you always bring up. No. This,
You gave me 30 seconds. Let me finish my comment.
As Solicitor Clark pointed out, there are legal boundaries to what we can say, and specifically what President Luker can announce as to describing the executive session. And yes, I mean, everything that happens everywhere is of interest, but we have legal bounds. We have accountability as the elected body, just as our solicitor and our township manager and all the township staff there are legal constraints in which we operate by the first-class township code and accountability. So we can't just do that.
So you're certain that you can't say we discussed the lawsuit with the Colonnade?
Solicitor
as
Clark?
opposed to saying we discussed
comply with the
a
law.
legal matter?
We comply with the law and when we're announcing
Thank you.
executive session.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, you said that the president generally, it's not generally, he always.
No, yes, thank you for that clarification. Always. That is the always, which again is those are part of the rules. Forgive me for that extraneous and incorrect word. Thank you for correcting me. Let's vote. All in favor of PA 4?
Aye.
Opposed? PA 4 passes. All right. We've come to the end of our meeting, so if there are any comments on general matters of public affairs. And we haven't reached the end.
Still in Meadowbrook, and yes, and that's an example of just trying to understand. If there's one more sentence that's going to help something be understood, what I've been asking for 10 years, and the people of this township are asking, is for you to care and understand about what it is we're discussing, not say, okay, you had your 3 minutes.
I don't think any one of us wouldn't be here if we didn't care.
I'm sorry?
I don't think any one of us wouldn't be here if we didn't care.
I cannot disagree with Commissioner Kalinowski on that
All I'm
statement.
going to say.
I want to say, Commissioner Kalinowski,
Yes.
you have not asked me about one of the issues
I'm
that
not going to, but
that
you're
I
telling me I
have brought
don't
to
care.
to this podium, and some of them have been, really life-crushing for residents in this township, and you vote on those things. One of the things that is very clear is that whatever happens in your own township, in your own ward, rather, the other 14 commissioners vote on what happens in your ward. And at one point, people were told, well, they almost always vote with the commissioner of that ward. And that is so untrue, I can't tell you. Okay, when it comes to zoning matters, for instance, that is completely untrue. In the issue of the economic development, which is so far gone that now people at home don't even remember what was said.
I think you can give people at home a little more credit for paying closer attention.
Yeah.
In the issue of the economic development, okay. So one of the things that happens, we're losing a bowling alley. It sounds like the YMCA may be going. I'm not sure. The movie theater. We have a movie theater nearby. Okay, my children would have to go to Warrington to go to anything other than what's at the highway. So the things that economic development is doing is we're dealing with businesses largely, and we're taking the family aspect out. When we talked about the community center, Commissioner Markman said that, he would help us get a grant. But there was nobody to help get any grants. But you heard about how many grants are available for those particular economic development items. We need theaters, we need bowling alleys, we need YMCAs, and things for people to do. Now, when you talk about things like all the things that the EAC is doing, we have in this township probably somewhere, I'll say, up to 5,000, maybe 10,000 people. There's 56,000 people in this township, but there's probably, let's say, 5,000 people that are consistently participating in the activities that are put together in the way that these activities, grant-based and so on, are put together. Okay? And the problems that we have is the problems of the residents include things like streets that aren't fixed, tenants' issues that aren't handled. We have fire concerns in tenant buildings. We have things that are monumental in the way of basic services.
Just FYI, if you could please wrap up, because your 3 minutes have expired.
So what we need is we need a turnaround so that the people of the township are invited to be able to have their services and their needs taken care of first before we spend. Every grant that comes in is being paid for by all of the people in the township and enjoyed often by the businesses and by a small group of people in the township. And that's wrong. Okay, that's not, it looks great on paper. It looks fantastic. It gets you plaques all over the place. You can make a list of all the things you're doing, like the list that we saw tonight, including rain barrels that are just absurd. And how many of those rain barrels were required to be bought by the township?
You've been granted extra time. We've had a long meeting. I truly wish I could give myself the time to go through point by point about how I disagree with that, but actually we do. We might have another member of the public who wants to speak. Are there any other questions or comments? Mr. Bell. Hello, Mr. Bell. Name and address, please, for the record.
Bell, 2076 Parkview Avenue. Thank you for staying this evening, and I appreciate it very much. Good night.
All right. I can't think of a better note on which to end. A motion to adjourn? We're adjourned. Wait, EAC, can you guys hang for 1 second? Mr. Manager, I need your semi-annual.
I consider it a compliment. You know what?
Do you get a Thunderbird?